Well, Simon Wilson, good afternoon to you. Before we look forward, let's have a little look back if we can, particularly towards the end of last season, that terrific 18-game record-breaking unbeaten run. With the benefit of hindsight now, how do you reflect on that very narrow playoff defeat against Hartlepool?
I think that when I think about that game, you just feel the feeling that we felt at the end of the game, unfortunately, which was real disappointment and hurt, and frustration, and I think that in some ways that last game was quite symptomatic of last year, in the sense that it felt like a missed opportunity, and being so close, being sort of 90 minutes away where you can see the finish line, to being back at the start of another 44 games and all the challenges that come with the season. It felt like a missed opportunity, but and in the game, I thought it was a tactical game from both sides. It was nip and tuck, but we created the three best opportunities in the game. Couldn't score, couldn't take the game to extra time, unfortunately, and that was it. And sort of in the key moments of last year, it was quite similar, in the sense that when you look at the league table at the end of last year, lost the least, conceded the least goals, won a good amount of games overall, but the draws were the things that stopped us.
14, I think.
14 draws, probably was certainly the highest in the top 10, I remember. And if you turn 4 of those draws into wins, we would have won the league, right? And it's easy to say that, but those draws are 0-0 games or 1-1 games, which one goal makes a difference. And I reflect back to Harvey Gilmore's disallowed goal against Notts County. I reflect back to the penalty we had in the last few minutes against Aldershot. I think about the chances we had in the 2-2 home draw with Woking, and it's not unimaginable to think that on a different day, in a different moment, those things might have gone for us. So, when you're reflecting on the season, you've got to be really careful to separate the emotion and frustration of the last day and how that felt, to the kind of overall analysis of how the team performed and what did we need to do with the team to improve it, to take it to its next level, because we weren't talking about a huge gap, we were talking about quite a small gap, really. It's hard to, we know in this league, it's a very competitive league, probably the most competitive league outside the Championship, I would think, given, the relegation places, the amount of competition there is for promotion and so on. And it's hard to win and be successful in this league. Many teams know that pain. So we have to go back to last year and give credit to the team and to all the people involved with getting that points total over the course of the season, because it was a good achievement. It wasn't great in the end, and it wasn't what we wanted to do. And we didn't meet our objective in that regard. We wanted to be promoted, and we certainly wanted to take it as far as we could do. But that said, there were some very good things that came out of last year, and I think I haven't been here for 10 years, but I do understand that it was the club's highest finish for 10 years, and with that squad, many of those players in contract for this year, with some of the younger players that had developed over the course of the year, we had to see it as a platform for whatever we were to go on and do this year. That last year was a good step that was taken, that will help us moving forward.
I think it's been interesting because we all remember that feeling after the Hartlepool game, and we've not really had that long to get it out of the system. I think only sort of 5 weeks turnaround, and we're back playing again. But for you, I mean, during the summer, it was interesting to see you at so many sort of fan events. You were at the Fans Forum, you went to Memorial Day as well and engaged with the supporters.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that all of you have missed that opportunity to connect with the fans, and how helpful do you think that's been over the summer?
Well, the club is its fans, isn't it? Every club is, and that's where the club gets its personality. It's where it gets its stories from. It's where it gets its its good and bad times. It's really important for me. I've been here nearly 18 months, something like that, but I still consider myself pretty new here, and I want to go. I need to go on that journey of understanding the club, so that when we're building things, that it represents the fans and it's something that everyone feels good and proud about. And as you say, without being able to get out and about and meet people and, you know, hear the songs and hear the stories and hear the chat and the banter, you don't really get that depth of feeling. I can read about it and you can have one-to-ones with different people, but getting out there and being amongst it is the best way of doing it, isn't it? I think it was really significant as well, the first evening game at Edgeley Park against Grimsby, which for me was a beautiful moment to see the away fans, you know, the away end packed, our fans responding to that. You know, it was just a different noise, a just different feeling on that night. It felt like a proper night, and I felt like I was quite privileged to be on a proper sort of Stockport County night, you know, and that aligned with time with many people on Memorial Day, you know, attending the fans forum. Yeah, I feel like I'm better equipped now and I've got a better feeling for the club, but that's got to be ongoing. And you know, I took my son to the Southend game away. We stayed in London, travelled out on the train there and back, and met fans.
We saw you walking in that day with your
lad, that's right. Yeah, and you know, I met fans on the way back and had a good chat with them there. And I want an honest relationship with the fans. You know, I don't want, like, I'm happy to get into the conversation with them about how it's going. You know, give and take. And like, you know, I think I at my heart, I'm a fan too. You know, I think I understand what being a fan is all about. I'm totally irrational and illogical when I'm watching England, you know, and that's away from work. But, you know, what we do have to do is we have to build a club that best represents, you know, our fans. And I think, you know, I always think of it like a mirror, that you kind of want to put something up there that shows everybody in their best light, you know, and, you know, I see a fan base, or I meet a fan base that have got a great sense of humour, a bit of gallows humour about the good and the bad times as well, and reframing things in the positive. And we're going to need all that. And but I think you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, when we do have those good times, in you know, being part of celebrations with them as well. So no, it's been really, it's really enjoyable, and yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not afraid of being around people that might not be too happy and have got things to say. I think that's fine. It's all part of it. And but as long as, you know, that when we do have good moments, that everyone can have a smile on their face and enjoy the moment.
Away from that glare, obviously over the summer, probably the biggest part of your role has been recruitment in terms of the players coming in. I think it's 9 new arrivals in the summer. Could be wrong, but around 9. How successful do you feel you've been in landing your targets in what's been a relatively short period?
Yeah, I think you never land all your targets. Like, you know, that to do your job well, you have to have a range of options, and you have to consider a number of scenarios. And even with the history of Stockport County and with the infrastructure that we've got here, and we're obviously able to be competitive on wages, doesn't mean you get every player that you're after. You know, and that said, we had a number of objectives at the start of the window. Was that, you know, we wanted to make the squad leaner. We like the idea of having you know, a smaller group of players. That means they play more. You have to leave less out. A group that bind and come together well. And so we looked at having players that have got good versatility. We wanted to bring the age down a little bit, so we wanted to sign younger. You know, last year, as everyone knows, we were quite defensively strong, and we wanted to be more aggressive and more of an attacking threat, more dominant in attacking ways. So we did sign people like, you know, Scott Quigley, obviously, who's a proven goal scorer at this level and the level above, in a good age for a striker, and we were successful in being able to bring Scott in. You know, we re-signed Tom, and we brought Ben Whitfield in as wingers, because we felt like we needed to be able to, at some points, flip shape, play with wingers, and as well as the system that has served us pretty well in the last year. But at the same time, you know, people will be surprised perhaps that, you know, we signed a couple of defenders and we'll sign another goalkeeper. Obviously not to just rest on the laurels of being good last year, but we felt like we were sometimes good. The numbers might have masked the fact that we were a little bit less aggressive in the way that we were defending. So we want to be on the front foot all the time. Like we imagined that night at Grimsby at Edgeley Park against Grimsby. Nights like that with a big crowd at Edgeley Park there, we want to be on the front foot in those games, and we don't want to be reactive. And so we started plans in trying to bring players that fit that in. I think we've got a little bit more to do in getting the balance right within the squad. We've been successful in bringing some, our first sort of moves into the loan market, in terms of, we always had the idea that the best young players in the country, this can be a very good first loan move for them. And we know that obviously Manchester United are always going to have excellent players. The history shows you that. And to be able to take the captain of their under-23s, it was only 18 years old at the time, and played first team football as an international. We were very pleased to sign Will Fish, and similarly with Arjan Reiki, who good contact to mind, is the sporting director at Aston Villa, and I know very well about their strategy and the way they're going. They're probably the best young side at 18s and 19s level in the country at the moment, but have got plenty more that sit behind them. So, we want to start the ball rolling and having relationships with clubs like that probably can find players that with attributes that ordinarily you wouldn't be able to find in the market that we normally shop in for players. So, I was very pleased to get those players over the line, but. We're mindful of you don't always know exactly what you need. It reveals itself a little bit in terms of the chemistry of the squad and the challenge of the opposition. We found pre-season really hard this year, John, because of the timing of the league. Yeah. We had
just getting competitive games, or games at the level you wanted, you mean?
Exactly right, yeah. We had the choice of, we had plenty of sort of EFL opposition that wanted to play us, but we were going to be playing them in week 3 or 4 when we were in week 1. It wouldn't have been great for tactically our preparation. We'd have just not had the ball, a lot of the time, and physically they would have been at such a different level to what we were at. So it didn't really meet our objectives. We went a different way, but as a consequence, we probably didn't get the football test that we needed over the course of pre-season to identify where we might not have been quite right with the squad construction. So. That getting into the National League, we're finding that out now, and look, I think we've made a good start to the National League as well. It's not been exactly what we want results-wise. Certainly, the first game that we played this season was a poor display, and some aspects of that are unacceptable, which we've addressed with the players. However, since then, I think what we've seen is a very committed, hard-working group that are very, very defensively sound. Our attacking play needs to get better. However, similarly to the Hartlepool game at the end of last year, we've had very, very good chances at home at Grimsby to win the game. They've not had a registered shot in the game. And we've had very, very good chances in the Boreham Wood game just gone.
Where their keeper got man of the match as well.
Their keeper gets man of the match, and they haven't really registered a shot on our goal. We've got to get more volume. We've got to, we've had 2 or 3 good chances, and we've got to get those numbers up to 7, 8s, and 9s where we were before. And we've got to do the work to do that. Some of that's personnel, some of that's work. But in terms of building this in layers, we're careful not to rip it all up, because we've done some good work around defending. Clean sheets is a very, very important factor in title-winning teams, and defensive stability. So it's now up to us to do the next part of the job.
Just going back to your recruitment, you were talking there about bringing in players from Aston Villa and Manchester United, clubs that I don't think we've even spoken to for the last 10 or 15 years, and it might have something to do with the fact I think we upset Alex Ferguson once when we asked him to move his seat when he came to a game here, but that's a long time ago. But the very fact that we're in that market now for those kind of players, is that a reflection on, well, two things, I guess, the infrastructure and what you've done in terms of the stadium, the training ground here at Carrington, but also Simon Rusk and the fact that he's worked so well with that demographic of player. Do you think those two elements have helped to get these players in?
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, I would say we're not snobby about where we take our players. You know, we took Elliot Newby and Harry Cardwell last year from Chorley. Yeah. We've taken Ryan Riddell from Fleetwood. You know, we're not bothered about where we take. We just want good players. Okay. But I think when we sit back and we sort of say, where could we be great? Where is there an angle for us in terms of being able to identify and secure good players? We do see that because, as you say, all these, you know, if I'm sitting on the other side of the fence at a Man United or an Aston Villa, and I'm thinking about what does my young player need? Yeah. Well, we want to send them to a good environment where they are looked after not in the same way as at a Premier League club, but in a similar way. So yeah, box ticked here. You know, we want to know that the coaching that they're going to get is going to be of a similar level, standard, and an understanding of what that player needs in that stage of their development. Box ticked because of Simon and Mark Beers and the rest of the staff's experience. You know, and then from our point of view is, no, players that I think they're good players at this level of football, really good players, but they kind of find themselves in the lower leagues of English football for one reason or another. Some of it's luck, some of it's opportunity, a lot of it is about attributes. We're flipping the coin there, where we've actually taken the best. So physically, they're very, very good. Technically, they're very, very good. You know, maybe where they need work is a little bit of experience and tactical understanding. But we feel like we can do that with giving them the games program and putting the work into them. So, look, it's new this year. We'll see how it goes. And I think there's enough track records of other clubs and doing it to take advantage of it. But we're very happy with how both of those young players have started at the club in terms of just fitting in and getting used to our surroundings and some good moments on the pitch as well.
And how involved is everyone else in the process? I'm thinking particularly of, obviously, Simon Rusk. How involved is he in terms of recruitment? And also how involved is Mark Stott? I mean, has he just handed you the checkbook, and you still have checkbooks anyway, has he handed you the blank check and said, do what you want to do? Or do you justify the expenditure on players? I'm thinking particularly about the Quigleys of the world.
I think we covered some of this in the last series of interviews. We work to a budget. We've got a budget in terms of we've got an anticipation of what it takes, to be competitive at this level, and so we set a number around that. Okay. So I set that with Johnny Vaughan and with Mark. We sit down and discuss that, and we set that, and that's where it starts. Off the back of that, then my work starts with Simon and the group to sort of say, where's the team at? We'll look at their feelings, obviously. We'll look at our performance and the outputs of that. We'll look at what we've got within the squad and the succession planning within the squad, and a number of blanks or spots will emerge in the squad of where we feel we need. We'll then prioritise those in terms of what we think are going to make the biggest impact and what do we think it's going to cost to find them. And then, I'll work with Jonathan Smith and the scouting team in terms of finding potential candidates for those roles. Yeah. We try to get between 3 and 5 candidates for each of the roles. By the time I pass it over to Simon, it's already been filtered once or twice by the scouting group to say we think these are the best of the available options at this moment in time that fit within our budget. Yeah. We'll present them to Simon and the team. He'll work with his guys to work out the ones that he likes. Sometimes he'll like the first one and we'll go with that. Sometimes he won't like them and he'll say, look, they're not quite, not quite got this attribute that I'm looking for. And we'll go back to the market and look again. But it works in that way. So it's almost like Simon will be the end point of the process. Mark this is the start point of the process, and I'm somewhere in the middle. Every player that we end up signing is a player that Simon has agreed to bring into the club, and we work collectively on what we feel the squad needs in regards to improving it. So, what you find, but we are in a chain, right? We're in outside of the leagues. We don't work to the windows that they work to. You know, we've had a lot of players come and visit us over the summer who say, you know, you're set up better than any of the clubs that I've got, but you're not in the league. So at this moment in time, it doesn't make sense for me, from my career, in their opinion, to come. So, you know, I'm not saying there was hundreds of players that happened, but you know, that does happen. So, you know, we've been successful in converting, you know, some players that had very good league options or were at league clubs to be able to come to us because of some of those factors that we've got. You know, and that's a good sign for us.
Of course it is, yeah. In terms of, I mean, the thing you couldn't really have predicted was obviously Scott getting injured, but also it's not just Scott. You know, there's Mark Kitchen, Sam Minihan, what's happened with Connor and James as well over the summer. I know a manager will always say, I could do with another one or two, but do you think we still need more bodies at this moment in time because of
bodies?
No,
bodies, no. I don't think it's a bodies thing. I mean, look, when I like the fact that people like Ethan Pye are getting on our bench, and that unfortunately is a consequence of injuries, and you know, it can be suspensions. Hasn't been in our case, but you know what I mean. So young players often get the opportunity through the misfortune or the other circumstances. That's what a squad's for. We need to allow that space to happen, because otherwise the young players will never get a chance to pop up. So I don't think it's necessarily about bodies, but it sometimes can be about quality and balance. At this moment in time, I feel like we may need some different attributes that we haven't recruited for.
Yeah.
And you know, I hold my hands up. That's my responsibility. Well, it's our responsibility as a group to come up with, get the balance right. And I would say at this moment in time we don't have it quite right, but we'll fix it.
You said something earlier on about the start that we made. You didn't think it was a bad start, and I've got to say, when I remember speaking to Liam Richardson in the summer when the fixtures came out, I looked at those sort of first 4 or 5 games and thought, this could be tough. This is not. There's no gimmies in here, and there probably isn't in the National League anyway. But I thought it was a tough start, and it turns out, you know, we've played 3 of the top 5 already. But as a management team, you said there you think it's been a decent start. Well, just expand on that, if you will, a little bit. How do you think we've been in these first 4 games?
Yeah, when the start came out, I agree. I looked at it and thought, okay, yeah, in terms of out of the number of teams that you can play, ours is harder than other teams. But we're all running different races anyway. You know, you don't know if you catch teams in a good moment, in a bad moment, through injuries and not injuries. You know, so. And I quite like the fact that it was an opportunity for us to have, like, through pre-season, that was our focus in terms of our games. We need to be ready and to be at the level that we need to be able to go and be competitive in those games. So again, I tend to frame it all as opportunities for us rather than, oh gosh, like on you know, like a fear really, because we don't, you know, they're all opportunities to go. But like I do feel like with, you know, it's easy to underestimate teams in this league. You know, I think Dagenham were a really exciting side towards the end of last year, and they were exactly that on the first day when we met them. The game was, we were speaking to their management, they said they felt the game was very, very similar to the game last year. They felt they got a bit more of the rub this year. This game, a few more things went in their favour, and we were poor on the day. In the game before, it could have gone either way. You know, who knows, when we're playing the next time round, it might go in our way. I don't know, but they're a good side, Dagenham, and I think their results to date have shown that. Southend away with 5,500 in at Roots Hall, first home game of the new season, is not an easy place to go, and to go and expect to go and wipe the floor with them. They do have, you know, good players that have been with them part of their journey, and then they have an expectation level to hit. To get a 1-0 away win there, I think, was an exceptional result. And we've already seen that other teams have struggled to do that so far. So, I think that's good. The home game of Grimsby, I think we were dominant in the game. It was one of those nights. It didn't go for us, but we were the stronger side in the game. And as we said, against the in the Boreham Wood game, I think we were up at sort of 65-70% possession in some moments in the game. We were utterly dominant, without being great, but we were the dominant side that created the more opportunities, but unfortunately weren't able to convert them. So, like, is it good enough? Nothing's good enough, isn't it? We want to win every single game we go into, but it's certainly not a disaster either. And I think what we're looking at here is that, you know, we've got a platform. There are things that are reliable about our game in terms of the way that we play. There are things that we need to do more and better, which we'll work on. You know, we'll get to that, and kind of that's all you can do. You know, it's not. You've been around it enough. It's not a straight line, is it? I believe, you know, Liam tells me that the team that won the title, the champions of the division, were 12th at Christmas or something like that. And it happens all the time. I remember Barrow in the first year, when Mark bought the club, got off to a really bad start. Sometimes you have to find stuff out to be able to find out the areas you really need to work on and improve, and what you think is not always what it is. It emerges.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, you mentioned that defensively, those 3 clean sheets, they really give you a platform then to build from. But do you think there's, I don't know what it is that we need, or is it a bit more end product, a bit more ruthlessness in front of goal, a bit more confidence maybe? Is that where you're looking now?
All those things would be good to have, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They're good. I mean, look, I think Simon and the team are on with it. Like they you know, we feel like we need more, you know, attacking threat. And, you know, I'm not going to say on our interview exactly how we're going to do it, so all our opponents can hear that. But, you know, we think we understand where that is. We think we need more of it. You know, we want to play with more attacking intent and purpose. And I don't think it's, you know, certainly players aren't trying not to be dangerous. I think that there's a bit that we need to do with setting the team up, and there's also some stuff that the players need to do to improve their performance on. But yeah, we want to be a team that creates lots of chances. We want to be a team that scores lots of goals. We want to be a team that's dominant. That's where we're trying to get to. You know, half of it is good in the sense that when we play teams, they can't get shots on our goal. They can't create good quality scoring opportunities. If people are scoring against us at the moment, it can be luck or it's significant error from our side. Yeah. But where we haven't yet got to where we want to get to is on the attacking side of the game. But we're on with it, and we'll get there.
I think what's noticeable as well, Sam, is I know we sort of talked off air earlier that maybe you shouldn't dwell too much on what happened last season, but looking at some of the results from the tail end of last season and the results that start this season, what is really noticeable is that contrast between the away form and the home form in terms of results. So, you know, away from home, I think it's 7 wins out of 8 now. It's something like nearly 11 hours since we conceded a goal away from home, which is quite remarkable, really, at any level of football. Yeah. But at home, it's almost the opposite. Not in terms of goals conceded, but I think 1 win in 8 at Edgeley Park. Yeah. And I found, even just commentating at Edgeley Park last season, it was hard work. Getting yourself motivated inside that wonderful stadium when it's empty. It's been horrible. And I wonder if there is a hangover from that, and fans and us getting used to us all being back together again. Yeah. Whether that's maybe having a detrimental effect. But as that turns, as the fans start to come back in and we start to get used to each other again, whether that home form will improve. Is it as simple as that, or is it just one of those anomalies in stats that
I don't know. I've got a good radar for excuses, and I don't want to ever get into that territory of, you know, for good or bad. Like, for our away form has been good, but I really only look at it in this year, and I only look at it game by game as well, because you know what happened last week is not like to have, you know, necessarily happen this year. What I'm interested in is in the trends of our own performance, and you know, I'm interested in you know, the difference between our performance when we play at home and when we play away. And like I said, it's keeping it simple. We want to be a team that, you know, creates lots of opportunities to score, really good quality opportunities to score, and we want to restrict the opponent to do that. I think we're doing that in most of the games. It's unfortunate, really unfortunate for us that in the home games perhaps we haven't yet, you know, taken those chances.
Because there's nothing to the untrained eye. There's nothing evident in terms of, you know, I look at the Boreham Wood game. I thought great setup, good shape, good subs. Tactically in game everything was great,
Yeah.
but just didn't quite get that bit of luck in front of goal. And I think that's been true at home as well. So I can't see any difference.
Yeah, I do
but maybe there is.
No, I think it's circumstantial. But look, if it's good and it's healthy for us, it makes us feel really confident when we go away from home that we've got this big record behind. Great, fantastic, great, good for us.
Yeah.
But I'm not too bothered about that, and I don't think the players are too bothered about it. It's the next game. We want to win the next game. That's as far as it goes. And I would say what we talked about quite a bit after the Dagenham game was we've got a club which has got everything going for it. And on the first day of the season, as you're going into that game, it's only natural and it's only right that everyone gets really excited about what we're going to be. Everyone thinks they're going to win the league on the first day of the season. Some of those teams get relegated. It's just normal. That's the optimism of a football fan, that when you walk into the stadium on the day of the game, it's going to be a whitewash, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, this is what we're expecting. We go 1-0 up within 20 minutes and we actually started the game really, really well. I think when the expectation level is that high and then you're underwhelmed by a performance that is not at that level, it can get very negative. And we felt like the stadium got negative quite quickly on the day, which was hard, and it's hard for the players in that regard. Total opposite in the Grimsby game. We felt the Grimsby game, whether it was the nature of the game was close and we were waiting for that moment when we were close, or the way that the team were working and competing, which I think fans will always appreciate effort and intent, from the team. The crowd were outstanding, and it was a positive place, and it was just, we wanted to keep playing that game because we felt like it would come, at the right time. So as long as we can work collectively with the supporters, with the way that the team are playing on the pitch, and we can create that type of energy, more nights like the Grimsby night, less days, afternoons like the Dagenham, the team of course are the catalyst in that. But we want to create that type of energy, and I think if we're all together, look, we'll go through this period, and which the current period that we're going through, we'll go through this together. We'll come out of it. We'll go into a next period, whether that's a really good period or a not so good period. Again, we'll go through it together. And I think as long as we're I think that the football clubs that are successful are the most together football clubs, from supporters through to board. If they're really together and they're on the same page, for good or for bad, they tend to be successful over the long term. It's the ones that get fractured and go off in different directions that fall apart. We're not going to be that club. We've got brilliant supporters. We've got a really, really talented team. We've got everything going for us. We're going to click, over the course of the season, and we're going to build momentum. And I really believe that's going to be incredibly powerful and a load of fun as well.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned togetherness. I think it brings us back to where we started, really, with Memorial Day, and you and David being there was just fantastic for the supporters. And I think it's credit to you for doing that. You mentioned something earlier as well about sort of lowering the average age of the squad.
Yeah,
maybe that focus on the youth setup is starting to really come through now. Obviously, Damien and Michael doing some terrific work in the background there, but
they really are. Yeah,
it is terrific to see, and obviously your belief in developing young players is paramount. Just tell us a little bit about some of the movement on that front, because it's not all been players coming in. Some have gone the other way as well.
Some have gone out. Yeah. So just to talk on the in, I mean, we so last year was kind of first year of planning a squad and building a squad, and we took what Alan Lord and Damien believed to be the best 4 players from the academy, offered them first year pro contracts. One of those players was Jack Hinchy, and all of those players trained with our first team, all through the year last year. Unfortunately, we couldn't get games for them to play in regularly. It wasn't until the back end of the season when we ran the emerging talent program. We started to create friendlies against different teams. They started to play, but it was in a way an experiment of how we were going to build the squad and whether it worked or didn't work. We thought it worked really well, and we'll touch on Jack in a little bit about his sale to Brighton. But this year, moving forward, we repeated the same model. With some other players that have been identified through Alan, Jonathan Smith, and our scouting team. Melenik Ali, Ethan Pye, Lewis Earl have come in to the group this year, And Milenik's already out scoring goals at Chorley. Ethan Pye's been on the bench a couple of times for the first team. Lewis has had a really good first loan out at Telford, which has allowed him to get great experience about what men's football looks like. And we're really happy with the way that's working at the moment, in terms of these guys are coming up, they've been part of our first team training, and they're holding the level, keeping the first team sessions good so we get the right numbers around the training sessions, but they're also getting great development themselves, and it's readying them for them to go out and, when they go out on their loan spells and progress their careers. At the same time, there are more players coming up from the academy. We've got a B team game today against Huddersfield. Many of them will play. They're getting great exposure. They're in front of the first team coaching staff, and we're getting really good, relationship between the academy, which is at a different site, and Carrington. So, really, really happy with the way that's going. And to top it off, we've had the interest of several Premier League clubs in terms of a couple of our players. One being Jack, which has resulted in a sale to Brighton. And I think I was asked for my thoughts and my comments when that happened. And it's those days are kind of bittersweet. You're happy in many respects, in the sense that the work of the player and ourselves has been recognised, and it's a valuable asset for the club, and there's some money coming back into the club. And potential future, which is great and helps us to do other things and do more of what we're doing. But it's also sad, because you do want to see these players play for county and do well for our club. If we're having this conversation in 5 years or 10 years time, John, I hope that we've had lots of that. That I think that really makes a club. I think it's great for the supporters to see their own coming through. It's great financially. It's great for the culture of the club, and you've got a pipeline of development. I think it makes people. It just creates an environment of opportunity for everybody, and I think that's definitely where we want to be. But our immediate target is to get out of the National League, and so we have to, when we're taking decisions like that, in the long term, medium long term, potentially we would have said no to the opportunity for Jack, but in this case, with Jack's interest in our heart as well as our immediate priorities to get out of the National League, we accepted the offer, and I think it was a good deal for everybody in the end.
I think one of the things you did, and of course it was under the previous manager, but he came on against West Ham, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
That little moment can accelerate those kind of deals as well, can't it? Because suddenly, if you're a scout from the South Coast, you know nothing about Jack Hinchy, you're looking, played against West Ham, this kid. That's a cute move.
Yeah, I think most people are wise to those moves. Those moves have been, those tricks, those cards have been played a few times.
Yeah,
people get it. But nothing to say. If you go on Wisecout and you click on Jack Hinchy, the first thing you see is him chopping Declan Rice. Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to say he's not a good player when he's doing things like that, isn't it? So I just think Jack Hinchy's a good player, and I think that's what's got him the move. I really appreciate it at the time, Jim putting him on and Jim naming him in the squad at the expense of, I think it was Niall Bell at that time.
It was, yeah.
And, difficult decisions. But as a director of football, I was very happy with that, because in terms of what it opens up for the future. And much like I am where, instead of naming, a more senior player on the bench, Simon's naming people like Ethan Pye, who at some point will get his opportunity, and I'm confident will do well. These, I think in general, managers are good at that. Their role is very much about the short term. They're very much judged by their results, wrongly and rightly. But all of them are football people, and they do understand that you have to give people opportunities, and for the medium long term interests of the club, having young players in around your squad is a fabulous thing. So we're in debt to the decisions that our managers take, but we're mostly in debt to the endeavours of the young players, in terms of put the work in and their talent has shined through.
Yeah, good luck to Jack. Well, listen, we know how busy you are, and I know you want to go watch those young lads at Huddersfield this afternoon. So thanks for your time this afternoon, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.